as we look and stare into the abyss. You never know what's staring back at you. It's coming.
All these voices.
Don't worry, Sweet. The phone we heard alone.
We had tons of activity, including a demon attack that called JC, the founder of Shadows Pit Paranormal, to puke all over the place like projectile vomit. It was insane, and he got scratched on the neck. We captured a disembodied face that was screaming, and we also captured a couple different full-body operations, which was badass. Now, Baba Yaga was a Slavic witch, but she was also a supernatural guardian. And basically what she did was beat back the forces of evil from the realm of the dead, made a deal with a bunch of witches in the woods in Armenia. She sold her soul, a nasty creature that I have actually had a run-in with myself. The bastard scratched the hell out of my car and jumped on it. It was a mess. I tell the story in the show.
It's just the ghost of you and me. It's just the smoking gasoline. It's just the ghost of you and me. Of you and me. Don't let them take you away.
They say staring into the abyss.
Don't let them bring you down inside. It's just the mirrors in
I'm
your
saying
mind. Don't let them bring
I
you
already am lost.
down.
Staring into the abyss. Remember, there might be something staring back. Come get awesome.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me as always, my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I am doing pretty good. How's everybody tonight?
Tonight's episode is titled The Real Fountain of Youth. Now that's kind of one of those catchy kind of titles that's supposed to hook you and bring you in. Everybody knows the story of the Fountain of Youth. Very quickly, if you don't, this dude named Ponce de Leon went in search of this mythical well, so to speak, that contained water that would make you immortal. It would keep you young, it would cure any kind of diseases you had, any ailments, and as long as you continued drinking from this source, then you would never get old. Hence the name Fountain of Youth. Well, throughout the years, there have been many, many people that have tried to track down the Fountain of Youth, figure out where it is, what it actually contained, how it worked, all of those questions. Now, as a kid, I was fascinated by this story, and I always wondered if it was real. Because, like in the Bible, they talk about the water of life, where Adam and Eve didn't age when they were in Eden because they were drinking from this source. So, there's multiple examples in multiple religions and multiple folk tales about a source of water that has the ability to heal you and has the ability to turn back the hands of time and make you young again. Mankind is kind of extremely obsessed with aging and death and sickness, and so it makes sense that it's always been a fascinating subject for a lot of people, something that a lot of people have tried to find. I also tried to track down the Fountain of Youth throughout my life, not really because I want to live forever, just because it was so fascinating and interesting to me. That's kind of where this show came from. This idea for this episode it's kind of a journey that I went on over many, many years of trying to actually find the real life Fountain of Youth. I wanted to know, did it actually exist? If a place that is called the Fountain of Youth did not exist, an actual single location, what was in it? What kind of water was in that? What was used to have those effects? Is there anything in real life that would equate to that? Is there anything that actually can do the things that the Fountain of Youth was supposed to have been able to do? Those are the questions that I set out to try to answer on this quest to try to find the Fountain of Youth. Over the years, I tracked down a bunch of different places where the Fountain of Youth was supposed to be. It's kind of like chasing the wind, though, because you hear something, you hear a rumor of something, you check it out, doesn't pan out, but it leads you to something else, that doesn't pan out. It's kind of a wild goose chase. But along the way, I did discover some really amazing things. And I did find a substance that will do all the things that the Fountain of Youth supposedly could do. So that's what I'm going to talk about on tonight's episode. I'm going to talk about the real life Fountain of Youth. And this is one of these episodes that, if you pay attention and you implement the things that I'm going to tell you tonight, it will absolutely change your life. I know that it will absolutely change your life because it has absolutely changed my life. I was at a point probably about 4 or 5 years ago, where I was in constant pain. I am 6'5", I am 300 pounds. I'm not a fat guy, I'm just a big guy. But being tall like this and being big like this, I carry around a lot of weight on my joints. And over time, anybody that is very tall will tell you your knees are killing you all the time. Your back starts to hurt. As you age, you have more and more pain that comes about. Now, that is for everybody, not just big guys. For somebody my size, it's even worse because there's more weight on those joints than a person that weighs like $150, right? There's a whole lot more weight that you're carrying, so there's a lot more stress that's put on those joints. Now, I wanted to know why that was. Why, as you age, you had a lot more aches and pains. Is it simply because the body stops renewing itself? You know, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that was a theory I had. Maybe the body just simply stops fixing itself after a while, and you just start to fall apart. But then I thought that can't really be right, because if that's right, then you wouldn't linger for so long. I mean, you can live for decades after your body gets to the point where it hurts all the time like that. So what causes that? And what can you do about that? Because if you can answer those questions, then you can figure out how to reverse aging. Because that's essentially what aging is your body isn't fixing itself like it's supposed to anymore, and you're having a lot more trouble. Now, this led me, believe it or not, to India, and some things that they were doing in India using urine therapy. Now, for those that don't know what urine therapy is, you're in for a treat. Basically, what they do is they are taking urine and they are drinking it. They are bathing in it. They are using it as a topical thing you put on your skin, and they are consuming vast quantities of urine. The belief is through doing that, they are healing their body from the inside out. They are detoxifying their body, and they are rebuilding it. Now, you might say that's crazy. Why the hell would you drink pee? That is nuts. Any survival person will tell you don't drink pee because it is not good for you. But I wanted to know why. Why do one group of people say don't drink pee and another group of people are drinking pee and it's actually having really amazing effects? Because believe it or not, this urine therapy, it works. There are people that are being cured of things like arthritis and glaucoma and all kinds of lifelong debilitating kind of issues that are being solved through this urine therapy. Why does that work? What is so special about urine that makes it work like that? I wanted to know because I wanted to tap into that myself. I wanted to find out how that worked so that it could work in my life, but I didn't want to drink pee because who does, right? That is disgusting. I'm not drinking pee. So I thought, what is so special about pee that makes it work this way? Why does this work? So I wanted to find out what urine is. We all know urine is a waste product the body produces that comes from the bladder and the kidneys, and it, is the way that the body gets rid of waste, of liquid waste. But what is it? Is it just all waste? There has to be water there too because it's liquid. So when you delve into that, you see that urine is approximately 90% distilled water. The other 10% is made up of urea and all kinds of horrible, mean, nasty things that you really don't want to put back in your body because there's a reason your body's trying to get rid of it. But 90% of that urine is distilled water. And that's the good part. The other stuff is bad for you. That's why people tell you not to drink it. But the 90% of it is good. And I thought, okay, if this 10% is bad and it has no good effects for the body, then it has to be that 90% that's actually doing the job, right? So it's distilled water is that 90%. So if I just cut out the middleman and drink distilled water instead of drinking pee, will I have that same effect that these people are having? Will it heal the body the same way the urine therapy heals the body? That was my question, and that was the hypothesis that I set out to try to prove. So I figured I had nothing to lose because I was in a great deal of pain and I couldn't really function anymore. So I began researching distilled water a little bit to find out whether that was a viable option, whether that would actually work. As I started my research, I came across many, many different people, and they all were saying the same basic thing: don't drink distilled water, that it's horrible and it will hurt you. Their top argument against distilled water is that if you drink distilled water, it will leach minerals out of your body and make you sick. Well, I thought, that's terrible. I don't want that to happen. But is it true? Because see, I always take everything with a grain of salt. Whenever I read stuff like that, I don't automatically assume that the people that are writing it know what the hell they're talking about. Because I have learned over the years that the majority of time, people say things and they don't have any idea whether they're true or not. So it could be that this was not a true statement, but it's a statement that people have heard, so they just continually repeat. So I wanted to look into why they said it was bad not to do it, and I wanted to see if that was actually true. Would distilled water leach all the minerals out of your body and make you sick? And if so, how does that happen? How does water leach minerals out of your system? So that led me even deeper. So I'm going to go through that for you, and I'm going to try to explain the basic process of how this works so that everybody can understand it. And the reason I'm going to do all this is because by the end of this show, you're going to have a good understanding of how this process works, and you're going to see that this is God's way or nature's way of healing the body. It really works wonders, because it worked wonders for me. I feel like I'm in high school again. I am strong. I am running around doing things. I feel wonderful. All my problems have disappeared because I have done what I'm going to teach you tonight. So, water. What is distilled water? That's the first thing we'll talk about. And that's pretty simple. Most people already know, but that's where we'll begin. Basically, distilled water is any type of water that you have boiled, turned into a gas. That is, the water reaches a boil, steam comes up, and then it is cooled and condensed back down into water again. When that process takes place, all of the bad stuff in the water, like any viruses, any bacterias, different mineral content, all that stuff is left behind because it cannot transfer into gas with the water. It has different boiling points where that's going to happen. When that water comes back, it's pure. It's what they call empty water. Now, that term empty water is extremely important. What that means is that water only contains hydrogen and oxygen. That's it. It doesn't have all the other stuff in it. Now, if you're talking tap water, then you have a list of dozens of different chemicals that are in that water. You have chlorine, you have fluoride, you have all these different things that are in your water. Then you have all the trace elements from the pipes that it's run through. And then if you have like filtered water, like, you know, when you buy purified water at the store, purified drinking water, that water has been put through a filter. Now, a lot of people think when you put water through a filter, that takes everything out, and what comes out on the other side is pure water. That's not true. Those filters will catch the large solids, but those filters cannot ever catch all the little viruses and bacterias that are in every drop of water. It's simply, they're too small to be able to be caught by a filter. So all that stuff goes through. And then as the filter works, it becomes gunked up with all the solids that were in the water, and it kind of gets gross. And more bacteria forms on that filter, and then that bacteria is washed through into your purified drinking water. So your purified drinking water you can buy like at Walmart or wherever has a ton of stuff in it that isn't great. The only actual pure water is distilled water, and it's because, like I said before, it's only hydrogen and oxygen. It's empty. So that leads me to how it works. How water can heal the body. How does that work? Well, when you drink water, if you drink normal water, like your tap water out of your sink or purified drinking water from a bottle, basically it contains a bunch of stuff. So that stuff, some of it gets deposited in your body. Your body cannot utilize inorganic material. It can only utilize organic material. Regular filtered water, the mineral content that is in that water comes from soil and rock. That is inorganic material. Your body cannot process that. Your body processes organic stuff from plants. That's where your minerals that your body can actually utilize come from, is from plant matter, not from rock and soil. That is inorganic. Your body can't process it. What all that boils down to is the ionic charge of the material. Water has a negative ionic charge. Organic minerals and organic materials also have a negative ionic charge. Inorganic materials, inorganic minerals have a positive ionic charge. Now, as you all remember from your science classes in school, a negative and a negative repel each other. A negative and a positive attract each other. So what does that mean? What that means is that empty water that holds a negative ionic charge, as it goes through your body, anything that has a positive ionic charge will be drawn to that water. And that water will carry it right back out the body again as pee. That's what makes up the 10% of the stuff that you don't want to drink. So the thing that they always tell you is water will leach out minerals. Distilled water will leach out all the minerals from your system, and you'll become malnourished and you will get very, very sick. So does distilled water leach minerals out of your body? The answer to that is absolutely it does. Yes, 1000%. Now that's not a bad thing though, because remember what I just said. Inorganic materials that your body cannot process have a positive ionic charge. That includes minerals that come from rock and soil. Those minerals have a positive ionic charge. Your body cannot process them. Plant minerals have a negative ionic charge. Your body can process things with a negative ionic charge. It cannot process the positive. Also, the water that's flowing through the system, the distilled water, has a negative ionic charge. The plant minerals have a negative ionic charge. Therefore, they repel each other. What that means is the water can never leach minerals that your body can actually use from your system. It will only leach minerals that your body cannot use that have a positive ionic charge, the rock and soil minerals. That is what the distilled water is taking out of your body. That's what's being leached out. That is not a bad thing. That is a very, very good thing. That is what you want to happen. The reason for that is what is making you sick. Your body cannot use inorganic materials with positive ionic charges. It cannot use them. It'll never use them. So what does the body do with them? If you have empty water coming through, the body says, hey, cool, look, it's an empty subway train. Let's cram as many of these people into it as we can, the people being the positive ionic charged inorganic material that the body cannot process. Shove as many of those into that train as it goes by as we can, and it'll go right on out the body. That's what the body wants to do. When you are not drinking distilled water, but even if you're drinking normal water, it's not empty. So there's a whole bunch of people already on that train as it's going through your body. So it can't take that many people. Does that make sense? You can't unload those harmful minerals onto the water as it goes out because the water's already full as it's going through you. If anything, it's actually depositing some of its passengers off in your body, making it worse for you. So what does the body do with these inorganic minerals and inorganic materials that it cannot process? It stores them away. It stores them in fat. It stores them in your joints. It stores them in your organs. If anybody in the audience right now that's listening has ever lived in a place that has hard water, then you will know anytime you have hard water, you always have this film that gets on everything. Your tub, your toilet, your sinks, everything that water touches leaves behind this scaly, flaky, gross stuff over time. And you have to use like vinegar, and you have to like scrub the hell out of it to try to get it off, or CLR or something like that. It's horrible trying to get rid of all that stuff. That is what is being removed from your body, that same principle there. Those are inorganic materials that your body can't process. Your body becomes scaled up and gross like that inside. Your joints collect this stuff. That's one of the places it's stored. That leads to arthritis. That leads to lack of mobility and flexibility. That leads to joint pain. It gets stored in your fat cells. That leads to obesity. It leads to skin blemishes like a lot of acne and warts and stuff like that. As your body is desperately trying to find a place for all this stuff, it actually starts pushing it out through your skin so that it forms pimples and warts and all this on the outside of your body, boils, those kind of things. It will form on your eyes. Some of it will get stored in your eyes and it will cause like cataracts and stuff like that. All the diseases that you can think of can be traced back to this root cause. So instead of trying to fight all the diseases individually, yes, you absolutely have to do that. If you get cancer or if you get heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, those kind of things, you have to try to fight that disease. But you can prevent all that from happening, and you can also reverse the effects of all of those things by attacking the source, is having distilled water run into your body so that it'll pull that stuff out. Now, back to the urine therapy. Urine therapy has been healing people of arthritis, of cataracts, of high blood pressure, of heart disease, high cholesterol. All these things are being helped and cured by urine therapy. Once again, not drinking pee. I'm just not going to do it. But distilled water is why urine therapy works. So if you drink distilled water, you can change all of those things. You can fix them. If you are a person that is living in pain every day, you can fix that. I was a person that lived in pain every day. This isn't just a theory. I know this to be true. I did it myself. I changed my own life by doing this. You can absolutely reverse arthritis. My hands hurt so bad, I could barely make a fist for a long time. My knees, every time I would get up and walk, would creak and groan and just hurt like the devil. I feel great now. I don't have pain in my hands anymore. I don't have pain in my knees anymore. My back doesn't hurt anymore. I feel like $1,000,000. That's because I am giving my body the amount of water that it needs to function properly. And I'm giving it the right kind of water so that it can get rid of all of the contaminants that are causing me a lot of problems. Because basically what happens is as you eat things and as you drink things, your body takes the vitamins and minerals from that food and from that drink that you have consumed as it breaks it down and it enters into your bloodstream. And it gets carried all throughout your body, to all the different organs, your lungs, your brain, everything. If you are consuming material your body cannot process, that material also goes in your bloodstream and gets distributed throughout your whole body. The problem is your organs can't use it, so they just kind of store it away. So that's why you have problems all over the body that are linked back to this same process. If you had a way to get rid of that stuff, then you'd be golden. That's what this will do. A lot of people do a bunch of different cleanses. You always see all these, especially like out where Old Boy is in California. They have 1,000,000 different detoxes and cleanses and stuff that they do to try to get all the toxins and all the bad stuff out of the body. Nothing works as well as distilled water. It is the absolute perfect detox tool. The reason for that is that's what it was designed to do. You can take crystal clear water, distilled water, perfectly pure, and you can run it through a hose down a hill. The water at the bottom of that hill is not going to be perfectly clear anymore. It's going to be brown as it picks up dirt and material as it goes down the hill. That's what water is designed to do. That's the whole purpose of water, is to collect as many contaminants as possible. When water evaporates, it is changed to just hydrogen and oxygen. All those contaminants get left behind on the ground. It goes up into the clouds where it cools, it's turned back into water and falls in the form of rain. When it falls in the form of rain, it's pure water again. We drink as much of it as we can. Now this is back in the day, before we had all the technology we have now to actually clean and process water. What we do not consume fairly quickly begins to collect material again, because that's what it's designed to do. The purpose for that is plants will take that inorganic mineral content. They need that to survive. They will feed on that. And after photosynthesis occurs, it will turn into organic minerals. It actually changes it so that we can use it. And then we eat the plant and we get the organic material that we need to survive. The plant has transformed that inorganic stuff that we can't use into organic stuff that we can use. It's a brilliant process. It's all set up so perfectly to work. Absolutely wonderfully. The only thing that screws up the system is when we mess around with it. And that's kind of the way it always works. If you just leave things to work the way they're supposed to work, it's absolutely perfect. God has given you everything you need to survive on this planet. He has given you perfect systems that work perfectly. The problem is when mankind decides we're going to tinker with it, and then we screw it all up. We take perfect pure water, and we say, oh man, look at this. This water is perfectly pure. It's empty. There's nothing in it. I know, let me throw a bunch of chemicals in there. Because, you know, we gotta make sure that the viruses and stuff don't get people and the bacteria. So let's put all these chemicals in here to sterilize this water so that it's safe for people to drink. And let's add a bunch of minerals into it for taste, to make it taste a little bit better. So then you're consuming this water through your tap, and it contains chlorine. It contains fluoride. Now chlorine, yeah, it kills viruses and it kills bacteria, but it kills your cells too. Fluoride causes lack of testosterone. It causes mental issues. It causes you to be submissive. Everything they add has bad effects on the body. They add mineral content in for taste and to make it healthier for you supposedly, but the minerals they use are rock-based minerals. So they are inorganic. Your body can't process them. So you're thinking you're doing the right thing by drinking water, but you're drinking water that contains stuff that's making you sick. You see how that works? We took a perfect system that God had created perfectly, and we screwed it all up. What I'm saying is go back to that perfect system. The reason we are meant to drink water is to clean our system, to flush our system, because that's what water does. It collects all this stuff and carries it away. That's why we have to have so much water, because it's constantly cleansing our system. It's attracting all of these inorganic materials that our body cannot process, and our body is actually storing away in different parts of our body that's causing us problems and causing us to have diseases. The water is perfectly designed to carry that away if we don't mess with it. If we drink it the way God intended it to be drank, which is empty, as it falls as rain, we can recreate that. Now, any good old boy will tell you how a moonshine still works. Same principle. You're distilling water, but you're distilling mash to get the alcohol out of it. That's how moonshine works. But it's the same principle as distilled water. You're doing the same thing. You're heating the liquid. You're turning it into vapor. It's going up through a tube. It gets cooled in that tube, turns back into water, comes out into another container on the other side. It's perfect again. It's empty the way God intended it to be, so that it can collect all of the bad stuff inside of you. Now, doing this will help out with everything. It will help every single disorder. It will help every single disease. It will make you healthy again. There have been people that have been doing this that have cured arthritis. They have cured cataracts. They have cured diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. All of those things can be reversed by doing this. I myself had very high cholesterol. I had a lot of pain issues, a lot of mobility issues. I felt sick. I felt horrible all the time. I could barely get out of my chair. I'm on top of the world again. And I have been for several years. So don't listen to the people that tell you you cannot drink distilled water because it will hurt you, because it absolutely does not. It helps you. It heals you. I've been doing this now for over 5 years, and I feel amazing. I don't get sick like I used to get sick. I don't have the pain that I used to have. I feel so much better. And it's interesting because it's the system God set up in the first place. If we just would have followed it, we wouldn't have all the problems we have now. He even made little systems just like it, like in the kidneys. In the kidneys, you have a thing called distal tubes, which basically, if you look at a distal tube, it looks like a little bitty moonshine still. What happens there, the process that it does is it distills water, and that's what makes the 90% of urine that is distilled water is the distal tubes. Distilled water is amazing for your kidney health and your liver health. Now, your body, with these inorganic materials, will form deposits, like I was saying earlier. That happens also in your kidneys in the form of kidney stones. It just keeps on adding to this little ball until it gets too big and it can't pass out anymore. Drinking distilled water will begin to pull layers off of that kidney stone until it gets to the point where it can pass right through no problem with no pain. Because it will take those, I don't know if you've ever seen a kidney stone up close, like magnified, but they look like medieval maces. They are scary looking. They got these sharp protrusions coming out from every angle, and they lodge on everything. They stab into everything on their way out, and it's horrifyingly painful. Distilled water will fix that because it will round that stone off, and it will shrink it in size until it passes with no trouble. You never see in the middle of a river or a stream a sharp, jagged rock. The rock that water travels over is always smooth. That's because the water has smoothed it out. It'll do the same thing to those kidney stones. It is a cure-all. It really is. And the best part about it is it's cheap. This isn't something that costs you a fortune to do. I buy gallons of the stuff for less than $1 a gallon. You can make it yourself at home if you choose to. It doesn't cost a lot of money. So what I would like to do now is I'm going to throw over to Old Boy in a minute. And I'd like to get his opinions on this. The reason to me that's important is because Old Boy has a background in medicine. A lot of people don't know this. He used to work on dialysis. That's what he did for a while. So he has been trained in dialysis and the old ways of doing this. So he can kind of verify a little bit of what I'm saying, and he might have some insight that would be kind of unique and kind of interesting to hear. So I'm going to throw it to Old Boy now and get his opinion.
Now, the whole original story of Fountain Youth, I really didn't. I've never really cared. I don't want to live forever. I mean, I've heard of it. You know, there's movies about it. They've referenced it in cartoons. I've never really cared. You know, this is kind of an interesting thing. Now we're getting into the, you know, the technicality and reality of it. I was a dialysis technician and a reuse technician, but I haven't done that for years, and they have changed everything. So it's different now than it was, 17, 18 years ago. So I'm not no expert of it, but he's right about distilled water. It's not as bad as everybody thinks. You're supposed to really drink that. I mean, and purify either, but, okay, getting back to what kidney dialysis is. I was a reuse technician, and I was a kidney dialysis technician. But like I said, I don't do that no more. It's been a while. So I don't know how stuff is done now. It's different because they're even making like artificial kidneys where you don't have to get a transplant, because most transplants don't work half the time because your body doesn't accept a kidney. Because remember, kidneys are filters. It filters out your blood. It filters out the water it comes in. And like he was saying, 90% of it's distilled. And it keeps the 10% is like, you know, kidney stones. And like James is right, because what people don't realize, kidney flushes 90% is distilled water, but there's still that 10% it gives you kidney stones. So like if you drink a lot of soda or you drink a lot of tea, you can get kidney stones, and they're painful as hell because you got to pee them out. They have like 6 or 7 different versions of kidney stones. You can get, like you were saying, like burrs everywhere, or they get big hooks, or they get crooked. And I'm telling you, that's why you have to go get surgery, because sometimes they get stuck in there and rip you open. And that's why it takes for like 6 weeks after you get your kidney stone surgery, that you're still have they put like this this gauze or something in you, and they stitch you up, and you're still peeing blood. I don't want to get into it too graphic, but that could happen too if you don't drink a lot of water. If you drink a lot of soda, a lot of stuff. And remember, a lot of people don't realize kidneys are one of the most important things in your body, because it keeps all the bad stuff out, filters all the water, like James said. And you don't want chemicals like that. Like he was saying, it cuts down the chemicals, and like with rocks, it smooths you out. That's why it does it. It takes all the bad stuff out and collects it, and it filters out through your kidneys. And what I would do is, I was a reuse technician, and now places don't really do that. They just buy new kidneys they look like a cylinder, and you put it on a machine, and the machine runs the blood through it. It's really fast. a couple hundred miles an hour. That's what people don't realize. Your blood goes really fast through your body. So that's what the machine does. And it cleans out because your kidneys no longer work, or they're like at 10% or something, because you still can use your kidneys to they're like you're 30, 25%, and you only need one kidney. People don't realize that. You just have to live a different life and not drink a lot of Coke and, I don't want to get into soda and Kool-Aid and crap, but that's how we clean them. So I would put them on a machine and wash them out with water, Renolin, a mixture of Renolin, and I think it was peroxide. But you had to be careful in it. There's water in it because there's water all in these chemicals. So we kept what we would do is we would reuse the kidney like 6 or 7 times, and you put this solution in. It's like embalming fluid, like you would with a human. It's not the same thing, but I'm showing it. But it keeps the kidney and all the disease out, and it purifies it. So that's what I would do. And then I went to school for 9 months, and I became a dialysis technician. And what people don't realize, when you do dialysis, you have 2 arteries. You stick them with a needle in their arm most of the time, and they would have a graft where it would be like this plastic thing, and you would stick it on both sides of the arteries. And there's sometimes they would get like cow veins and put them in there to stick them because they're bigger, because your veins are too small. It's very hard to stick somebody if they don't have these in their arms. So that's why when they first get sick, it's really hard. Most of the time they'll put it in their chest so they can it can work better, because they'll put these 2 things in their chest where your arteries are at. So it'll flush everything out that way, and it's like a bag in a machine. But the other one is when you stick them, they could get it in their legs or their arms. Majority of the time they'll get their legs, so they'll look real swollen, like these big veins. One veins, you got to stick it, like he was saying, it's like a negative reaction. The arterial vein, and then there's a venous vein. I think I'm butchering the name, but they do different things. So we had to stick both of those veins. But they would have these big shunts in their arms, and you would stick them, and that's what would clean all their fluid out. And that's because they can't do it themselves, they'll die. And some of these people would come in, and they'll be there 3 or 4 hours, and you have to take about 8-9 pounds of fluid out of them. And after about 6 or 7 pounds, they start cramping real bad because they had too much fluid in them in the first place, because some people don't follow the way they're supposed to, and they start bloating up like a fish, and it swells up real bad, and you got to get some of that weight off, but it's too much on their body. And that's why it takes a day or 2 for them. That's why we do it every other day, is because they would have to rest for a day, because it just knocks your body out. That's what happens when you don't drink a lot of water anyway. You keep getting dehydrated and stuff like that. You can die. I live in California. It gets hot here, like in the hundreds. We have warnings all the time. He was right. You have to drink water, because if you don't, your body's going to die. And a lot of people drink sodas and sports drinks and energy drinks, and those are bad for you. That's like drinking cancer. So that's why a lot of people who drink a lot of water, like James was saying, I believe he's probably changed his life, because I've drinking a lot of water and I feel a lot better. I don't get sick like I used to. I used to get sick all the time, guys. I'll get stomach flu once every couple years, but I have a bad stomach, so I'm prone to catching stuff easier. But with what he was saying, I don't get sick anymore. I used to get sick bad. I used to be a smoker too. I quit smoking about 9 years ago. I was 2.5 packs a day, and I quit. That's another way I saved my life too. But the Fountain Youth has always been a great story to me, because a lot of people want to find this. I want to live forever. I want to live a healthy life. I've heard about it in the Bible, like he was talking about, that they used to drink out of their Adam and Eve, and that kept them young. I've heard people want to find, but I was always thinking I never wanted to live forever anyway. And the reason why is I don't want to watch people that I know die. I don't want to live here for 1,000 years, 200,000-300,000 years. Why would you want to? It would get boring after a while. It's just like everybody says, once you get to a certain state in life, you don't want to be here. You've lived a normal life. Say you're like 80, 90 years old. You don't want to live. Most people, they want to live as long as so they can see their kids, but eventually they've been here too long, and you know that. I'm not saying nothing against old people or nothing. I'm just saying that some people have told me this, and I wouldn't want to live till I'm like 180 years old, 200, 300, 400 years old. That's too long. So I get what James is saying. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not an expert on the Fountain of Youth. I never really got involved in it. I don't know a little bit about it because of movies and stuff like that. But I do know you need the water. Distilled water, I heard, is good for you. There's some people said it isn't, but majority of people said it is because it cleans. Like you use distilled water to clean off stuff too. It works. So if you see other waters, they'll get this white filmy crap that James is talking about, especially water out of your sink. I mean, if you have to drink it, you have to. You're thirsty, you don't have any other water. But honestly, I buy purified water all the time. That's all we really drink. I don't even drink, and I've been doing it for like 2 years now. So I'm not feeling bad anymore. My back's hurt anyway because of injuries that I sustained throughout my life. I'm like Mick Foley, who's that wrestler. He's like 48, 50 years old. He walks like he's 90. That's me. I've been in a lot of fights. I've been in a lot of accidents. I'm a tough person. I have to be dying to go to the hospital. James kind of the same way. So we're very tough people. But that's all I got to say about that, James.
So we know that distilled water can cure all kinds of different things. It can really, really make a difference in your life. But is it that easy? Because I've had this conversation with people before. And people just, for some reason, they don't want to believe that something so simple can work so well. They always think, okay, what do I have to add to the water? How do I have to do it? What do I have to do? They don't believe that it's just as simple as just drinking water. But it really is simple like that. If you drink distilled water, you will feel better. Period. Now, there are a whole lot of other things you can do on top of that to make significant gains in your life and in your quality of life. You can change your diet. You should only be eating fruits and vegetables that are fresh, not canned stuff. And if you want to have meat, make sure you have meat that's fresh as well. Stay away from the middle of the grocery store. Just hit the sides. Anything you're going to buy in the middle of that grocery store, 9 times out of 10 is not going to be good for you. Anything that is in a box or a can that is packed full of preservatives and salt and stuff like that is a problem. It's going to add a bunch of extra crap into your body that you're going to have to get rid of with this distilled water. So if you change your diet as well as changing to drinking distilled water, that will make the process happen much, much quicker for you. You will begin to see results within a week or two if you make a complete dietary change as well as changing to distilled water. I know when I first did it, I actually went vegan for a while. And if you can pull off a vegan diet, that's probably the very best thing you could do for your body. Because everything you need, you can get from fruits and vegetables. You do not need to eat meat. See, that's a common misconception that a lot of people have is, well, I can't not eat meat because I have to have the protein. Where do you think that protein comes from? Do you think the animals are creating protein? That protein the animals get from the food they eat. If the animal is an herbivore, that means it eats plants. It is eating the plants that have protein in them to have protein in it. If it's a carnivore, then it is eating herbivores that are eating plants. So you're getting second or third hand protein when you're eating meat. When you eat the vegetables, you're getting the protein source. There are many vegetables that are very, very high in protein. All your beans are. Spinach, kale, that kind of stuff, very high in protein. So it is 100% possible to eat nothing but fruits and vegetables and be an Olympics kind of athlete, like that level. There are athletes out there that are vegan that are performing at a world-class level, that are gigantic and muscular and fit and in shape, very healthy. You can get everything you need from fruits and vegetables. For me, the problem was I like meat. It tastes really, really good. And it was very, very difficult to be vegan for me. I tried. I really gave it the old college try. I went strictly, and old boy can attest to this because he remembers this time, I'm sure. I went strictly vegan for about a month and a half, almost 2 months. And I just couldn't do it. So then I switched to eating a vegetarian diet instead of a vegan diet, which means I allowed dairy back in because I love cheese. Well, that led to, okay, well, I'll eat some fish. Okay, well, I'll have an egg. Okay, well, I'm eating cheesesteaks. You know, it's a slippery slope. It's very difficult for me personally to stay on that vegan diet. Now, that being said, when I was on a strictly vegan diet and I was drinking nothing but distilled water, I felt better and I was healthier than at any other point in my life. I am not as healthy now as I was when I was doing that. I don't feel as good and as strong and as healthy now as I did when I was doing that. But for me, it's just so difficult to not eat meat because it is so damn tasty. And I really like it. So what I try to do for myself is I drink as much distilled water as I can. And I try to eat fruits and vegetables and throw in occasional meat. But my meat that I eat is not processed lunch meat. It's not stuff like that. It is good quality meat that I get from the butcher. That's what I try to do. Now, that being said, I don't always pull that off either. Sometimes I have some pepperoni pizza. Sometimes I have a sandwich. You know, sometimes I have stuff I'm not supposed to have because I'm weak when it comes to that kind of stuff because it tastes so good. And I grew up my whole life eating garbage, and I'm so in love with garbage that it's hard for me not to eat it anymore. But you try. You do what you can. If you drastically up the intake of fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet, and you make the switch to only drinking distilled water, I promise you, you will feel better. You will feel younger. You will feel healthier. Your sex drive will come back. You'll feel like you're in high school again. My metabolism kicked back up like it did when I was young. I got to a point where I couldn't eat enough to gain weight. Weight was just dropping off of me. I felt fantastic. I still feel really, really good. I do eat some stuff I'm not supposed to eat every now and again now. Because, like I said, I'm weak. But for the most part, I have made a lot of significant changes to my diet, and I feel much, much better. So there are things on top of the distilled water that you can do that will make a tremendous difference in your life. Try to drink as much as you can. Optimally, to reverse a lot of the bad stuff that's happening to you, you want to drink 3 or 4 liters a day. Realistically, not a lot of people are going to be able to drink 3 or 4 liters a day. It's a lot of water to drink. That's like 2 2-liter bottles. That's a lot of water to drink. But do the best you can. Carry a water bottle around with you and just keep sipping on it. You'll be surprised how much you can drink in a day if you're not trying to guzzle it all at once. You're going to pee a lot. Expect that. There's going to be a lot of trips to the bathroom. Not just for peeing, but for doing other business as well. Because your body is cleansing itself. It's getting rid of decades of pent-up waste products that are in your body that are making you sick. Your body's getting rid of all that. Your first week or two, there's going to be a lot of trips to the bathroom. But just stick with it. And I guarantee you, I promise you, you will feel better. You won't have to live in pain every day anymore. You don't have to be sick. God gave us everything we need to be healthy. All we have to do is understand it and implement it in our lives. So with that being said, I'm going to throw back over to Old Boy so he can do his wrap-up.
This was a really good show. Jim's been wanting to do this one for a while, so he finally got to. And it was a little bit different. I thought we were going to talk a little bit more about the Fountain of Youth, but then he got into the reality of how to keep your body good, and he's right about it. I've done it, and I don't really drink a lot of distilled water, but I drink a lot of purified water. I don't drink out of the tap. The tap kills you faster. But I want to thank everybody from Para X Radio. I'm glad you guys listen to us every week. We try to do different shows now, like more what's going on topics, and we have for the last couple of weeks. I'm really glad you guys are liking it. We're getting a lot of comments. Remember, if you want to listen to our shows, subscribe to James Hersey Jr.'s YouTube page. You'll check it out, all our old shows and all the new stuff. We've been doing. If not, listen to Para X on the weekends on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Pacific and 12 Eastern, and they play it all through the whole week so you guys can listen to the replays. And they'll play our other show from the week before that. So you guys can listen to that if you missed that one. We have a merchandise store. We just brought out new shirts, a couple new ones, and a fleece blanket. So if you guys are interested in that, remember, look it up. There's a lot of other stuff on there, cool stuff you can get. And eventually we're going to get hats and beanies, so that's going to be cool. So check that out. I hope everybody has a good night. Blessed be, Misfits, Sugar Ladies, Monster Hunters, and Demon Lovers. I love you. Have a good night, and blessed be.
My final sum up for tonight, the Fountain of Youth is real. It exists. But it doesn't exist in the way you think that it exists. It is not some mythical place that you have to try to travel to and find where you take one drink of it and you live forever. That Fountain of Youth, I don't think does exist because I've never found it. I've never found anybody that has found it. But what I have found is the real Fountain of Youth. I have found the way to reverse the majority of disease out there and to literally reverse aging. Now, will you live forever? No. Because eventually our bodies will wear out. But there are documented cases of people who were on the verge of death and sick with bad diseases and bad disorders that they had their whole life almost, that were cured of those problems and have lived to like the age of 120 or something. That's impressive. And the quality of life is what's even more impressive. For the time that you have left, you don't have to spend it in pain. You don't have to spend it sick. You can spend it living. Because if you're not living, if you're not out here doing something that makes you happy and something that you love, what's the point anyway? Why would you want to stick around if you can't do anything? If nothing brings you joy in life anymore, why would you want to be here? This will get you back to where you can pursue those dreams and those passions again and find that love of life. It can happen for every single one of you. The Fountain of Youth is real, and you can drink from it. You can make these changes in your own life. You can be healthy again. You can be strong again. You can live life pain-free. And that's worth more than all the gold in the world. Because you can't take all that material stuff with you. You can't take all the money, all that stuff with you. It doesn't mean anything. What means something is the time that you have with your family and the time you have doing the things that you love. And this will absolutely give you more of that. So it's very valuable, I think. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope that you learned something here. Because this, like I said in the beginning of the show, this is one of those episodes that will absolutely change your life if you do it. And I hope that you do. Now for the shameless plugs. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. It's where all the episodes of Staring Into the Abyss, Tales from the Abyss, all that is. 100% free. Please go and subscribe. The merchandise store is teespring.com/stores/Staring Into the Abyss. teespring.com/stores, and that's on the end, /Staring Into the Abyss. That's where all the merch is. If you're interested in merch, that's where you can find it. I've wanted to do this episode for quite a while because I think that it's valuable and it's important to kind of cut through the mumbo jumbo that you hear. Because like I said in the beginning also, a lot of people say a lot of things and they don't know what the hell they're talking about sometimes. They just heard somebody say it, so they repeat it like it's gospel, and they don't actually know. This is one of those cases where once I started actually digging in and researching the claims that were being made, I realized that a lot of these people that are saying don't do this, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. That actually this is exactly what you want to do, because you can actually cure your own self by doing this. So to me, that made this whole process valuable as well. But beyond just the health benefits and the changing of my own life, the changing of other people's lives is what is going to make this the most valuable, I think, to me. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. We love you very much. And until we speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.